Good morning, afternoon, evening, Autonomizers. My name is Joshua Hale, and welcome to Do It Live Autonomy Podcast. Today we are joined by Agnieszka, Chris, Tyler, and we'll see who else pops in today. We're broadcasting live inside of the Autonomy community, and so anybody can just hop on in and say hello, and we're really looking forward to today's program. We have lots to cover today, but first I want to ask our guests, our co-hosts, what is one highlight and one highlight from this last week of personal success? Didn't know that was coming, did you?
I would think the personal success that I would like to highlight would be that awesome banner under your name or under your face there, Joshua.
Yeah.
Because that took a while to get through that hurdle. And to me, that kind of stuff is exciting because I'm a big nerd or a geek or whatever the specific category is. And if you notice, I got a little logo on my screen too. So within the autonomy community, there's a little tutorial. It comes in assuming that you understand the preliminary knowledge that it took to get us up to that point. And there's other videos on setting up OBS and things like that. But yeah, to add the little banner in, just like our fearless leader, Richard has on his screen, now Joshua and I have the power to do that.
And Rich didn't show us how to do that. We got the experience of doing that ourselves. Tyler, you did, and then you shared it with me, and we recorded it, and now that's available everywhere. I'm going to show a little clip of that later.
Wait, is that a new title also on your screen, Mr. Joshua?
How so?
The executive director part?
Nope. I've been rocking that for this whole season.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Well, Agnieszka, what's the big win for you this week?
I just love all the movement that's happening on all the businesses that we're developing, all the different projects that we're working on. And there's been significant movement. And also for myself, managing the group of people and trying to get everybody responsible for a certain piece of the project, and then making sure that the project manager is on them and supporting the project manager as a leader. That's been a whole new thing for me, and I kind of like it.
And is this for your personal business?
No, it's for autonomy business.
Oh, nice. What's this project?
This is the thing I talked about a week ago or a couple weeks ago, where we took all the therapists and psychologists from the group, brought them together, and we're going to be offering some introductory material for people who have challenges on their day-to-day, right?
Fantastic.
But like autonomy like introductory material for people who may not be quite ready for autonomy, but are have questions and want them answered.
And so you're enjoying working with other students and graduates from autonomy?
Yes,
Oh,
definitely.
awesome.
The excellence is definitely present there in that team.
Awesome. I told Carol Ann to check you guys out because she has some services as well. So keep an eye out for her lurking.
Yeah, we've talked to her, and she said she's not quite ready at the level of commitment that I expect of my members. Nice. Because there was quite a division of labor that was happening with us at the time, and she's like, okay, I'm going to back off and see where this goes. So that's totally great. I mean,
cool. Great. She's on your radar. Fantastic.
That's a great addition.
Yeah. Chris, you got a highlight win for the week?
Last week started with an autonomy get-together. There was myself, Jordan, Trey Summit, and Lisa Manfredi had flown in from Boston to the Dallas area to hang out with fellow autonomizers and other groups of like-minded people who had similar interests. And the meetup went well. We got together. We had a great cookout out at Jordan's place. And it went really well. There were kids there playing together, getting along fine. The weather was fantastic. So it was an ideal autumn meetup. Jordan gave us a nice tour of his farm, his business, what he's the aspects of his business that he's got in mind. So we came up with a lot of small talk, but also relevant ideas coming together. It was good.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Autonomy, community, getting together in the real life, and immediate kinship. No fist fights.
No. And I was very impressed with all the children and all the kids. My kids are small and so are Jordan's, and they were just wild, free-range kids running around on the monkey bars, doing things that probably schools would say, no, don't do that, running around with animals. Oh, no. And Trey's kids are older. They're teenager, and they're very impressive kids, well-behaved, very, especially his oldest one is 17, and I mean, he's a man basically, and he was I was sitting there looking at him thinking, yeah, this guy maybe could be in autonomy one day. Yeah, because smart kids and great food. The slow cooked ham, the minute we got there, I mean, that was the first thing that hit you, was the smell of that slow cooked ham in Jordan's grill. I mean, you can imagine, that's going to be good quality food coming from. It was some of the best. It was just melted in your mouth kind of meat.
Was that
Trey
grown
brought
and
some
raised?
chili.
Was that off his land? Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Trey brought some chili that was very good, very, very good. It was a good meetup. It was good fun. The only negative part about the whole deal was coming home, I was robbed by some guy through a stop sign. I plowed right through it, and I'm not quite at the level of some people in autonomy to fight that there in the moment. So, but that happens. And anyway,
You got into a car accident?
It was a good day.
It was an official representative of the governance.
Oh, gotcha.
No. I just, just a citation. Yeah.
Gotcha. They're out there.
But yeah, in fact, he pulled me over, and I thought I must have been speeding or something. And he said, "No, did you know there was a stop sign back there?" And I had no idea that there had been a stop sign back there. So, yeah.
Well, cool.
It was a great day. When autonomizers get together, it's always a fantastic experience.
Well, thanks for taking some pictures of that. I really wish I was there. I'm sure everybody else does too. I had dream of visiting Jordan's farm at some point. He came and checked ours out this last summer. So, thanks.
Well, at one point, he's got a lot of longhorn out there, and he gave me a bucket, and he said, "Go on out there and start shaking the bucket." And I did.
With a red cape.
And basically, the whole herd just came charging at me.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was pretty funny. He did warn me, he said, once they get near, just drop the bucket and kind of move away. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks for reporting. My biggest win this last week, I'll have to give a shout out to Tony from D&D Labs for pulling me out of the weeds. But I got into a pickle with a client due to needing to get into the file management system on WordPress that is the host that uses to have WordPress onto it. And I jumped in there, started poking around, and ended up breaking my client site. Gave myself a time limit of 3 days, and then try and fix it. But then confessed to the client. And meanwhile, I was trying to use the resources of autonomy to fix this on my own, but I had to confess and did so. and was transparent and opened myself up in the email that I sent. And lo and behold, Tony swooped in and was able to save it, or fix it for me. And so I looked resourceful in front of the client. So it ended up turning out to be even a better situation than just no challenges, because I got to show myself in a resourceful manner to the client. So really grateful for the community.
Can I just take a moment to address your letter that you wrote to the client that you shared with the class? Because that was just freaking amazing. That was the most eloquent, most non-violent communication, most I was so in awe with that letter. That was such a good letter. And you could totally see all the autonomy skills coming through in the way you wrote that letter.
Yeah. Joshua, how did you get the skills to write that letter, man?
Yeah, man.
Well, autonomy has definitely given me the courage to own your mistakes. Mistakes aren't like the end of the world. It's just a way to refine and to strengthen yourself. So learning to like hold those things as badges, saying like, look, this happened. It's not what I intended, but I grew from it. And now I'm even a better, stronger person because of it. So once we get as we get comfortable with that, we can be more authentic with how we operate.
It's so important to make mistakes. It's the only way forward. The more mistakes you make, the faster you're going to get to where you want to be. Something that stuck with me, again, is what does done look like? And I can't get that out of my head now. And because of that, I was able to make a lot of progress in web development this week. So I'm happy. I was working on my website a lot this week, and I got that done. But making mistakes. When I used to work in tourism in Europe, I used to be a tour director. And when they would train us, they only trained us for when things went wrong. So, it's all about when things go wrong, how you act, how you handle it.
Awesome. Chris, you're a little bit choppy, but you came in through with what you just said. So thanks for that. And congrats on moving forward on your website. I look forward to seeing your progress.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right, we're going to move into our first clip for today. Richard, this last week, was interviewed by David Rodriguez to talk about what autonomy is accomplishing. So I'm just going to cut over to a small clip of that.
And you create something that's really powerful. So as I mentioned, it's called Autonomy. And let's just kind of start, what is autonomy? And then we can get into some of the reasons you started it, perhaps some of the curriculum, and most importantly, the benefits to these parents, to these students out there who want to have a successful life. They want to be free. They want to be healthy. And there's not a lot of programs out there that are teaching this, especially in the state schools and in universities, which are products. But this is something that's going to be empowering them in a way that I've not seen on the market. And so back to the first question, what is autonomy?
Autonomy is a course of breakthrough actions, and it's designed to help you write your own script in life and live a lifestyle of freedom. And there's a couple components of that aren't automatically there in our culture. We go through 15,000 hours of compulsory education, but we don't come out with the knowledge we need to survive and thrive in the world at a level that should be expected after an investment of such a large amount of time. And if you go to college, a large amount of money. Not just your money, you might indenture yourself and your future for that money. Your parents might give up a whole lot of their free time in the future to pay for college for their kids, right? So there's a whole bunch of dynamics that are there, and really the skills that I'm teaching colleges and university structures, they won't teach their students because they're very much about indoctrination and not education. And the same for the school systems themselves. They're about indoctrination. They're about leading with declarative sentences. The only question marks they use are at the end of a chapter or on a quiz or a test. And true learning starts with observations, asks questions, and then finds declarative answers as the decision or conclusion so that you can take actions in life and repeatedly get consistent results that bring you satisfaction. And so it's possible to get these things we want, but you can't get there from here, to use a movie term. When you're coming from schooling, you need to fill that gap with serious skills, high value skills, if you want to excel out of the rat race.
I thought Rich nailed that. Good introduction to what autonomy is accomplishing. And David Rodriguez, they go on to have a really excellent interview. David asked some great questions, and this is something that David was able to share with his audience. And so his audience is able to learn about autonomy and then find the trail back to getting autonomy for themselves.
And wow, what an improvement with Rich. Like his like 30-second introduction of autonomy, so improved since last year. Like, I know he's our illustrious leader, but we're improving, all of us are improving together. This is more like a petri dish of continuous growth and improvement. That's what autonomy is. Hey,
I mean, in Discord, what is Richard's subtitle? He puts being the learner. You know, we can create our own little subtitles under our name. And yeah, as you say, he's our illustrious leader, but what does he put? Being the learner. We're always learning, always improving, always making mistakes. And as Richard says, failing our way forward.
Yeah, in my coaching school, what they said is that when you're a student, you sometimes know the topic, you think you know the topic, so you feel like you're comfortable and confident in doing the task that's at hand. But when you get to mastery level, you realize that you may not know as much as you think you do, and that attitude of curiosity that comes into every task, that's the mastery of knowledge. That's how you know you're a master, because you're still asking questions, you're still exploring and coming up with new conclusions.
Agnieszka, you're a skilled copywriter. How long do you think it took you to reach a level of copywriting that gave you, enough confidence to start actually applying it to real life?
So I was always a writer, but I'm a very prolific, long-winded, long run-on sentences kind of writer naturally. That's my natural inclination. So when I first started copywriting, I would write something, and then I would remove 50% of the words, and then I would remove 50% of the words from the second copy, and that's when I knew I had something. Because funny, if you write all your thoughts and then remove 50% and then 50% again, the meaning often remains the same. But there's just the empty filler words with the knowledge of, you know what I mean? Things like that don't really add.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I'm feeling a bit copywriting is a very important skill that's pushed. And it's something I have not really looked at or really made an attempt to improve upon. And now, finally this week, I'm getting around to it, and it's always, you have a queue of things you want to start working on, whether it's video editing, web development, marketing, and copywriting is one of those many skills that are, that are talked about in autonomy. So I think finally this week, I'm going to get around to really taking it seriously. And I was motivated by a link that Richard's always, every once in a while, he'll drop a subtle link. He's got ones that he pushes where he tags everyone, but then there are ones that he just kind of drops there. And it was the one about 7 exercises that you can do to improve your copywriting skills. So I want to take that and develop it from there. I'm just, the reason I'm asking you is I'm trying to point out one of the many skills that we talk about in autonomy. But for me personally, this is something that I'm really excited I want to start improving on and learning, because I think it will help, like me and anyone. I think it just, it helps people sell themselves, and it just makes you more efficient in communicating. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I would say there's only 2 things that you really need to remember. One is to use as few words as possible. Second is that it's always an emotional decision. So every time that is possible, take that shiny spotlight, and instead of shining it on you, shine it on the client. So if you want to say something like, I am creating this podcast of interviews because I want to change the world, take that whole sentence out and make it about the client. You want to listen to this podcast because this podcast is going to get you this outcome, this benefit, right? And that way, every time if your sentence is about the client, turn the spotlight onto them, they'll be so much more endeared towards you.
Because when they read that, they associate that you're literally talking to them inside their head, and it's either going to hit the target or it won't, but that's what it's intended to do, because you're looking for those people that are right for the product or service or the goal.
And
great question.
The best is if you can get the words that they're already saying to themselves in their own head, and you can take those words literally word by word and put it in a marketing material of whatever kind. Then if they see their own thoughts reflected on them in your offer, that's a perfect match.
I'd like to see, that's a great idea. And I'd like to see perhaps you and Kara get together and maybe do a little video on audience research.
Sure.
That could be some gold right there. Michael, welcome to the podcast. Do It Live. Thanks for joining us. You're coming in from Acapulco. Awesome.
¿Cómo estás, güey?
Muy bien.
Michael, we started this week off, or this video off, with celebrating one of our weekly wins. What did you get accomplished this week?
Man, I just got a long list. Fortunately, I've got a long list, and there's just so many things that I'm just really, really grateful to be a part of this. And it's such a magical thing for me, because man, I feel like I've been looking for this group for a long time, and to have this opportunity to work with you guys. I mean, I am really in awe of what you guys are doing, and certainly what Richard is doing. And the fact that, like, for example, when I first got on the Autonomy, site and looked through that, my impression was, wow, this is done so well. I mean, it was almost a magical experience that led me to get an appointment with Richard. And it just happened so easily. And then to find out that this was all something that effectively was put together by the students, just to me says a great deal about, the capabilities and the potential of all you guys, So, just discovering that is a win for me. But I've really had a great week. I got to work with Haida Marie a little. She volunteered to do some stuff with me, and she's having a circumstance with her husband at the moment, but her attitude and her just dedication to still trying to help just blows me away, and I'm just so appreciative, like I said, to be a part of this.
Awesome. That's fantastic. She is amazing. And even with the difficulty of the situation that she's in with the recovering loved one, her attitude is really shining bright. Well, fantastic. Feel free to hang out, Michael, and join the conversation. We're going to keep moving through the week. And on Tuesday night, we had Richard Grove and Brett Venat come on for a mastermind group. And Brett invited the whole student body to bring their challenges into the conversation in order for some brainstorming to take place. I'm going to show a little clip of this, and I'll preference this and say that Jim Hood has a course called Test Drive Your Future, and he wants to have lots of leads come into that. And so he brought that situation into the mastermind group, and then Brett gets to give a little bit of feedback, and then something magical happens.
have, or they don't want to waste a lot of time and money. And so they're really wanting to kind of get this dialed in first. Second best, but probably more likely customer would be, a kid who's been in college for a year, still doesn't know what he wants to major in, or is changed at least once, and feeling like they could use a little bit of guidance to help get that dialed in.
Okay. What about, and how do you find that person on Facebook? Like, because I haven't done the only Facebook advice I had for you was I was going to refer you to somebody who I think is great. But if you already have people working on a Facebook ad campaign with you, I'll forego that advice. And how does that work on Facebook as far as like lasering in on that person?
Well, Facebook is pretty, it allows you to target some very specific, it's not as specific as it used to be. They keep changing their targeting rules every few months to make things more inclusive. They don't want to appear like they're discriminating against anybody. Right. I was showing some ads last year. They used to allow you, like last year I was advertising a coaching program that was specifically for parents who had adult children who had moved home. Like, they'd already gone to college, they kind of failed to launch, they moved back home, and then Facebook actually allowed you to target that specific group of people. And then they changed their mind and said that you couldn't target that group of people anymore. And then they banned me after the fact for having targeted them in the first place, even though I was following their rules at the time. Mm-hmm. Crazy. But so right now I'd have to actually go into my Facebook account, because I've been letting Joshua and Kara actually just kind of manage the whole Facebook end of it. We're doing parents of high school students who I believe are ages probably 40 to 65, somewhere in that area. It allows you to, yeah.
What other, like my suggestion is going to be content creation, which is obviously an affordable, more affordable route to send a signal, I think. What are you doing along the lines of creating content?
I'm not other than writing my email autoresponders, I'm not doing anything yet. And I've been thinking about what I want to do. I just wanted to really make sure that I had a decent, viable path picked out before I actually invested the time and energy in doing that. I got really excited about the possibility of doing a podcast back in October, and I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. I need to make sure that before I really invest the time because that's not a small commitment at all. Right. I'm still, I've been hesitating to dive into the content creation thing, because part of what I've been doing with this Facebook ad deal has been trying to prove that I have an audience at all, that there are actually people out there who would be interested in buying this, because in all the time I've been trying to market it, I haven't had a whole lot of evidence of great interest. And there's, I've oscillated back and forth between wanting to go full steam ahead because I really believe in this, and then, wanting to say, screw it and just learn how to do something like what Kevin Geary's doing, because it's a much easier sell,
This is a very tricky area, because most people are just looking for faster horses.
Yeah, that's it. I mean? That's just it.
And they don't know. I said a Richard Grove quote to my podcast guest yesterday. Marketing is educating the public to want what they need, right? Yeah. So we both have, and I really identify with this, you have an obstacle that people don't want something that they need, right? There is such a proportional relationship between the frustration with the way things are and the apathy about doing anything about it for families in this country, because, it's good enough for me. It's what everybody else does. So it seems like the problem to solve is there's a couple of different pursuits here, right? Like, find the people who are already warm to this idea. So I have a podcast. We talked about this in June. If this is ready to go and you're ready to sell, I would say look for places where you could get like a monthly spot, or every like 6 weeks, a show would have you back to talk not about Test Drive Your Future, but about the problems that Test Drive Your Future solves.
Right.
Because people aren't, I think, while people don't even know that they're looking for a solution, they know there's a problem. And I think people are less motivated to pursue solutions if they don't get frequent enough reminders about the problem. This is one of the things that I've learned, where I've seen some kind of like, some apathy in my own audience from where we used to be, as far as like the fire, people had about these issues 7-8 years ago.
Right.
And there's certainly way more distraction today than there was even, that long ago, but this doesn't seem to be that important of an issue. And I said, well, maybe, the problem is I haven't been reminding people enough about the problem, because I'm trying to be like positive and focus on solutions, but solutions to what? If we forgot what we're even talking about in the first place. So if you have like, emails that cover student loan horror stories, let's say, or any example like that, you have an opportunity to go and tell stories, like not vague statistics and all that, but like human interest stories in certain forums that I think would obviously remind people like, oh my God, I have kids, they're going to be there. So I talk to people all the time who are in this situation, and they're listening to my show and wondering, what are they going to do?
Right.
Whether they have unschoolers or kids in private school or kids in public school. So there's people who are already receptive to this, and I'll provide you thousands of them, or at least the ears of thousands of them.
Right.
And then there's this problem to solve of people don't yet want what they need.
So there is Jim Hood showing the courage to come onto the mastermind, bring his frustration and his challenge that he's working on of not having leads for his business. And it matched up with a problem that Brett was having of wanting to show the problems that lead to the solutions of School Sucks project. So they were able to match up, and now Jim Hood's going to be doing a monthly spot on the School Sucks project, sharing the challenges that the current students of schooling are going through. So I'm really excited about this. Jim, I know, is ecstatic about this. This is probably a dream come true for him. And it just magically magnetized together in the mastermind group.
Yeah, and there's a huge amount of innovation that's coming out of these mastermind groups already. And what I was really impressed with is it's a display of like this multiple layers of things going on here. First of all, there's people getting together and brainstorming, which is there's going to be interesting things that come out of just that. But then they're also producing content to help other people. And we're using it here to produce more content out of that content that's eventually going to be shared with other people. All of this kind of sparking people's interest in autonomy, but also getting their gears going with Jim's problem and Brett's listening skills. And hey, what's this mastermind format? And what are these guys doing sitting around this round table, this virtual round table? Who are these people? And so it's adding in like, we're just doing it live. Here's this whole new format of a show, basically, that you could develop into a show. And out of that comes a show that Jim just sets up a monthly show now that he's producing content. And so there's a huge value add to this style that Brett's doing. And there was a solution that came out of the end of it. So he's not just coming on and say, look at me, look at how cool I am for joining you guys here and in my awesome studio. And now I'll see you later, catch you next week. Like, he was really involved in the conversation. He's showing how to listen and, ask the right questions. I think Brett is very good at kind of like prompting the person with a good question to get them talking more when he doesn't fully understand the situation. He says openly, I don't really understand Facebook ads, but are you doing this area? And Jim says, well, no, I'm not even doing that at all. And I thought that was a really good idea, honestly. And that's the type of stuff like Richard shared a video from Dan Locke this week, or I stumbled upon it, talking about innovation. And those are the types of things that maybe your competitors or that you haven't thought about yet, that is totally going to open up this new door, because it's the YouTube era. People like to kind of listen to things now versus go out and seek and read them. It's a little bit more of a passive way of consuming things. But if Jim can show up in the right time at the right place, it could be a huge breakthrough for him and his whole course that he's been working on. And that's another thing I wanted to say really quick, is just Jim Hood's persistence is admirable with this. And it's a project that he himself has admitted he's let down. He's set it down and he's picked it back up, looked at it, put it back down. And then they've really kept with it though over the years. And it shows what that kind of persistence can do when you stick with something.
Absolutely. Yeah. He turned his idea into a book, and then his book into a course, and then got frustrated because didn't know how to get it to the right people and put it down. And then he's sparked it back up here in Autonomy. And myself and Kara, we've been helping him with creating a funnel. And we were just having a problem with not getting leads, but just getting people that were ready to commit to interview with Jim for him to pitch the course. And so we have this beautiful funnel all ready to capture this traffic. And now this is a huge component that Brett is offering to bring this into his audience, people that are primed and ready for some solutions to this schooling problem. And this funnel is ready to capture all that traffic.
I'm glad you said that, solutions to the schooling problem, because I wanted to add, let's not forget how important Jim's course is and what it's really all about. It's an alternative to becoming indoctrinated, basically, because the public school system has been proven to be a tool to literally indoctrinate and brainwash the masses into becoming obedient order followers. And Jim's course is an alternative solution to that.
Yeah, it's called Test Drive Your Future, and it really is that. It allows you, the student, to know what's coming up ahead instead of just picking a topic while they're young and then trying to get a career with that same topic or industry when they're done with their 4 or 6 years of higher education. So Test Drive Your Future really gives you a way to know what you're getting into, know what it's going to take to get there, and to even find apprenticeships or a way to test that out to see if you even wanted that in the first place.
And I think Jim is a great role model for us all, because, I mean, if you read about anybody who's famous, who's done anything significant or anything that really affected the world in a huge positive way, very often, most of the time, I would say, there's always that story where they first come up with the idea, and the idea is not gaining traction, and like J.K. Rowling submitting to all these publishers and getting turned down all over the place, at different people, Meryl Streep being turned down by all of her interviews, saying she was too ugly, all these stories.
George Lucas with Star Wars.
Right. So we don't really think of that. And when we create a new project, if it doesn't gain traction immediately, we're like, oh, I suck, which is exactly what the schooling system taught us to do, right? Exactly. We're falling into the trap. We watch ourselves falling into the trap as we're going, right? So let's remember that. Let's remember Jim. Let's remember all these people who have come before us, who stuck with their idea, who realized that maybe if it's not working this way, maybe we'll adjust it slightly, but then it still can come and make the world a better place. Let's not let the naysayers distract us from our purpose.
Stay focused.
I just wanted to add in there, this is really an opportunity for us to kind of create or demonstrate the environment that is going on here in regard to, being able to bring forth trustworthy products and services, and essentially establish a reputation and kind of go through building the reputation for each of these projects, services, products, all the things that are going on. And each of these things is an opportunity for us to build a reputation with our friends and associates and all that as well. Because if I see somebody that's got a high school kid that's, kind of wondering where they're going to go with their life, I definitely want to introduce them to Jim's course, because that could change their life. They might end up going into, into that $100,000 or $200,000 debt, endless pit, or they may join the military or some crazy thing like that on a whim. Whereas this is the logical way. This is the critical thinking way of doing that. And the fact that this group of people is kind of auditing that product line and then making sure that it's getting to the right audience is one more way that we can demonstrate to all those potential people out there that may want to be involved in autonomy, or any of the businesses out there that would like to have a workforce or a staff of critical thinkers. This is another opportunity that that this presents, I think, for all of us.
For sure. Well, let's keep this train moving. There is something we've started here in Autonomy called Tech Tuesday or Tutorial Tuesday. And each week, as problems arise, those that are willing and able will solve in real time how to solve these problems and record it in order to share it with the community. I was approached by a new student, Gabriel, who works for a company and saw that their website was lacking and saw an opportunity to be able to bring that to the owner and offer a solution. And so we got together and I went through his website just to show vulnerabilities in areas that could grow and develop. And I'm just going to show a little clip from that. Pair of eyes, which I am. They're a subcontractor providing plumbing and fire protection for commercial construction. That's like telling me what you are, but not like why you are. And and as a viewer, as a viewer, I need to know how this solves the problem that I have as fast as possible, because I'm wasting my time looking for this answer. So why would I need plumbing and fire protection for commercial construction? Like, why is that a thing, and why would I need that? And you really want to spell that out so that when I land here, I have a problem. Like the city's making me get these fire codes for my building, and I have that problem because I need this solution done like last week. And so if you can speak to that problem, get your fire code up to date, then I can immediately identify the solution in order to take action. Right now, I'm checking this out. Like, okay, you just told me what you are. What the hell do I do from here, right?
Right.
So there's no clear call to action on the page. Even if it was a learn more button, that'd be something. But right now, it's just kind of frustrating. I'm doing this. I'm checking out this shit, this stuff, but it's not relevant to me. Like, this is all internal stuff. And so I'm just being confused by it. So I'll finally figure out there's tabs up here, and then check out your About Us. Okay, you just repeated yourself. License number, that's good for somebody to know. License number, that's good for somebody to know. This headline and explaining what that is to a layman person. So I essentially went through, and this was an excellent website to be able to show areas of improvement. They didn't have any live links on their phone numbers, on their way to contact us, and all of the links that you saw there on the side were for internal employees. So it was just really confusing what actual links were active, because they didn't they weren't for the people that visited the site, potential customers. So Gabriel ended up with a ton of bullet points to be able to bring that back to his boss and show him areas of improvement. Usually it's not that drastic when I go through a website assessment. So this should be a really easy win to be able to show how Gabriel could bring value back to the business, not in the way that he was hired for, but in a new way that he could gain recognition, promotion, or additional income from.
What time do you guys do this Tuesdays now?
Yeah, roughly. There's so much going on now. This happened on Tuesday. Another tech tutorial happened on Tuesday, but definitely reach out and we can get it posted if you have a problem, a question, or a solution, and we can share it with the community.
So that was his company's website. I think you explained that, but that was his company that he works for, and he's going to go to his boss now and present some of the ideas that were talked about. Is that?
Yeah, so this was brought up in last week's Q&A with Richard, and Richard had the suggestion of wait till there's like a social situation where you guys are at a company party and just approach him casually and drop the problem, drop the solution, and just leave it really light just to plant the seed. And so then the owner will recognize the problem and then approach him, and he can then have the how to solve that problem ready for him.
Yeah, okay, so this is the same guy. Yeah, I remember that conversation now. And another idea Richard had that I thought was really good was maybe just do one page, right? And show what the before and after could look like, and walk up to the CEO or the boss or whoever he is with a tablet and say, hey, check this out. Kind of back and forth between the two. This is what we can do. Me and my friends have been looking at this, me and my team, maybe not friends would be the right word, right? Me and my team. And, we've been thinking about proposing this to you. What do you think? And if you show him it, I mean, you could talk about it to him and he might forget, right? But if you show him, that's really going to stand out, especially if it's like, here's the black and white difference. I thought that was a good idea too. And in autonomy, you can come in, you can pitch a problem, get a solution, come back and find a team of people that might be able to put something like that together and make that happen pretty quickly. And then probably, that's going to win that guy huge stars at his work, right? If he ends up finalizing that and it actually produces an end result of end user experience being way better, that's a great idea.
Yeah, really, the business has nothing but to gain from improving their website.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua, is your video you did with Tyler about putting in the lower third, is that up yet?
Yeah, let's go ahead and segue to that. I got a fun little section picked out.
Go ahead. I'll jump back in. I'll just wait.
I just made you host, so I'll jump back. I'll jump out and come back. So Tyler and I had a meeting, okay. And then Tyler shared his solution with me. We recorded
and now you're listening to the Autonomy Radio. We take this brief intermission due to technical difficulties. Your host will return while I take a sip of this fine raw milk.
And I had to jump out in order to restart the software.
Don't drink pasteurized milk. I mean, come on. Find a local farmer and get some raw milk. You got to get those proper enzymes, proper bacteria going. It's very important. Very important for proper nutritional digestion and actual absorption to have proper gut health. And one of the best ways, in my opinion, to balance the gut is to eat a lot of dairy, raw, organic dairy.
Brought to you by your local cow.
And now we return to this unscheduled interruption. It looks like we have Joshua Hale.
All right, virtual cam start. OBS, start video. Someone's showing you, right?
Yeah, is your OBS camera on top of me? Move it up. Move it up and the little up arrows at the bottom. Because it looks like you're sharing your screen in OBS. There you go.
Whoop, whoop. Oh, I had two.
Yeah, order of operations, top to bottom. It does matter.
Layers. All right.
There you go.
Look at that.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Sweet. It was very triumphant. It was no small feat what Tyler was able to put together. He actually remote controlled my screen and added some code to the files that were missing. And luckily, we recorded it, and anybody can do it now. Tyler?
Yeah, we triumphed over that. And it was more in spite of, I think, a comment that Richard made of something that we wouldn't be able to do this or something without expert. That kind of stuff just really gets under my skin. I had no real reason to fix this right away except for to provide Joshua the solution. This may actually come in, well, it already is coming into play here in Autonomy in Do It Live with Joshua's little lower third eye there, as Chris would call it. And so it's already adding to the production value. But eventually I kind of envisioned that these screen shares that you do and stuff, we can make it almost seamless, and the post-production will become really easy. I figured out a lot of this OBS stuff because for that reason, out of laziness. It's not necessarily the laziness, but getting a lot of those hurdles out of the way to just be able to sit down and produce some content. And OBS really does allow you to do that once you have it staged properly. Chris and we were going to probably mention this later, but we'll be doing an interview on Monday because I'm still working out some of the tech hiccups with the live interviews and sharing Zoom through it. So we're going to do some Do It Live testing on Monday. It's going to be a fun time. If anybody from Autonomy or anybody watching this is able to join, we'll drop the Zoom link in the Autonomy area somewhere on Monday around 4 p.m. Mountain. So there'll be some more maybe OBS troubleshooting going on live on YouTube there that day. So feel free to jump in.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's a powerful software. It's free, and you can really accomplish some really cool things with it. Well, next up, we have last week's History Connected. Richard got together with the community and did a live presentation on Epstein and Maxwell, a very hot topic right now, and one that I don't have ready to go. So
Epstein didn't kill himself. Somebody has to say it.
Well, while we're waiting, I really want to commend Ty on his raw milk statement. That was really good. Raw milk all the way. If it wasn't illegal in Canada, I'd be drinking raw milk. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding. I mean, it's maybe it's one of those things where you've only been doing it for a small amount of time, and so you kind of jump on the bandwagon. But I mean, our whole family is really loving the raw milk. The kids love it. They just go through it like crazy.
If it was available at all in Canada, I would totally drink it. But I don't have a farm or a cow, so that's the only way to get it in Canada is by having an actual cow. And they don't make apartment cows yet. Anyway.
Close it. Move on. Ghislaine Maxwell. Early life. So let's get back over to Ghislaine Maxwell. France, French-born scholar, and a Czech-born a British media proprietor. So Robert Maxwell, let's just go here. She has relations back to the Huguenot families, resided with her family in Oxford, a 53-room mansion, okay? As a kid, that's what she had. That's what Epstein got after he played ball. She grew up in that world. They are different. They're people from different sides of the tracks. Publishing company run by Robert Maxwell And then at certain point, oh wait, Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, attended Balliol College, Oxford. Okay, so we gotta go over here. It's an obscure college at Oxford. Why would it have any place in the history blueprint? Oh, there it is. Edward Balliol is in there too. Oh, the whole Balliol family of Scotland's in there, because that ties back to merchants bringing in opium for Queen Elizabeth, and that's how the British Empire got formulated, like in 1804. The Scottish and the English getting together to be like, we have a market for it, and we need someone to acquire and ship, and there's like logistics, and that's why two empires bonded back then to form the British Empire in the first place. So the fact that she went to the college that is named after the people that were doing that tells me she probably plays in that game. I don't know. Let's go down here. Let's see. She founded a women's football club named after the original Kit Kat Club. Let me take a sip. Been talking too much this episode. I need to ask more questions and read fewer sentences. She was director of Oxford United Football Club during her father's ownership. Right, he owned a football team, and then let's see. Adnan Khashoggi, right? All right, so at the time, Maxwell worked at a real estate office on Madison Avenue and was reported to be socializing with a group that included Ivana Trump, that's the former wife of the current president, and Adnan Khashoggi's son, who is not the guy who worked for the Washington Post, Khashoggi. That was Jamal Khashoggi. I believe he's a cousin of Adnan Khashoggi, who was a multi-billionaire Iran-Contra drug money covert operator. That's very interesting. Maxwell quickly rose to wider prominence as a New York City socialite. So, to some circles, Ghislaine Maxwell has been famous her whole life, and everyone else just found out about her. Association with Jeffrey Epstein. So, do I have her connected to Epstein? I do. And let's see, what was the other part? Khashoggi.
So pretty valuable presentation that Rich does. He goes through his researching process and uses the brain software to connect the dots. And from that, it really taps into his full history of research and how a lot of these main players play together. They're raised in those circles. And this is type of information you're not going to really catch on mainstream news. Tyler, you go for it? Go for it, Michael.
I was going to just chime in here a little. You know, that little episode, I think when it premieres, I am definitely going to be sending it out to all of those alternative media journalists, because this is how you really develop a story. And, you know, I mean, even a lot of the media get caught up in the kind of the headline stuff and don't really ever get into the meat of understanding how this all ties into the bigger picture. And I think Richard demonstrated a beautiful, examination of this particular topic and how much more you can learn by looking at the cast of characters that are all surrounding it. You know, it makes so much more sense. And I have, Epstein has been out there for a long time, and I've never seen as much information put together in such a short amount of time as what that little presentation did.
Awesome. Yeah, it will be out by the time this podcast hits the airwaves. So check it out on tragedyandhope.com for the full almost 2-hour interview or process of Richard going through this. Tyler, were you able to join live and add to the Q&A?
Yeah, I believe Michael and I had front row seats the whole time, which is awesome. I mean, and we both chimed in at the end, and that's another benefit of being in autonomy is you get to view these productions live and possibly even chime in. If you have a question, you can interrupt Rich. He invites it. I believe he invites it for these recordings to just chime in if you have a question, which how many other places will you have that sort of opportunity with someone like Richard? Because although I've studied Epstein and looked into all these different things, I don't know what Richard knows, and I think he's helping us understand how he knows what he knows, leaving the breadcrumb trail. I do have my own brain model as well, and I understand the value of plugging things into the brain yourself. So I suggest while people are watching these history connected, be an active participant. You can purchase the brain model from Richard. You could start your own brain model. You could start a brain model at work that has nothing to do with alternative research and show it to coworkers. I've done that before with just product documentation and stuff. And as far as the subject matter itself, I mean, I think the powers that shouldn't be, and even the general public, would just rather that we just shut the hell up about Epstein. I mean, he's dead. He killed himself. Why do you guys even care about this? But it's important to sit down with this information and slowly start to piece together the puzzles, and the puzzle pieces and form this tapestry that Richard is recontextualizing history and helping you to do that as well. So it's not enough to just passively watch this stuff. I think you should dig into the articles, start to connect them together yourself. And like I said, I mean, I think the brain is personally one of the best tools there is. Kind of create an advanced 3D model of a bookmarking. I mean, it's bookmarks on steroids. That's what I say to people. Like, your bookmarks and your browser tabs are one thing. This connects them together and layers them and orders them in a way that's easier to understand. So really valuable stuff.
And it's how your brain actually operates, by connecting dots and not just having floating pieces of information that aren't easily able to be brought back in to your conscious awareness. But once you connect it to a larger chunk of information inside of your own brain, this is a visual representation of how to do that, and then how it is useful to you, because you can recall it at any point, having it attached to a larger organized thought.
Now this is a system thinking, tool, and certainly, I mean, as far as like even reading a book, if you're reading a book and you like Tyler was saying, kind of highlighting and organizing the things that stand out as interesting to you, and can put that into a brain model and then fill in all that information and gaps. I tend to believe that most people will start to see how powerful this tool is just by breaking down a book that they like or want to, or are reading. It will totally change that experience to 10x.
Yeah. And I just want to add something about effective use of Wikipedia, because we know that Wikipedia can be questionable at times, the information on it, but you can certainly get into a lot of really good information through the use of Wikipedia, using it as a starting point. But I just wanted to bring a really quick example. I was studying heraldry the other day, and one person had a monkey on their symbol. So I was like, okay, let's see what Wikipedia says about the monkey, right? So I went into the guy who had the monkey, and it said, oh yeah, he was the first guy who was the first peasant, I guess, or lower class person who got into the higher classes. That's why we put the monkey on his thing. And had I just read that, that would have been it. However, there was a link to his dad, and I was like, oh, well, why? So the following the links, right? Just like Richard did with the school. So I clicked on the dad's name. Well, his dad was already gentry. His dad was already a rich person. And then his dad was already a rich person. So right away, that Wikipedia in the original entry, why the monkey was on this shield, it wasn't true, because they were gentry for generations. So now I have a task to look into microfiche or whatever to find out why this person had the monkey on the thing, because it wasn't the reason that Wikipedia gave me right away, but I still learned it from the use of Wikipedia. Anyway, just a little.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes to subjective information, you cannot trust Wikipedia at all. But when it comes to the cold empirical facts, they're usually pretty good, particularly when it comes to, for example, I love looking up actors, and their filmography, or musicians and their discography, things like that. Yeah, it's no problem. But that's a good example, Agnieszka. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Wikipedia is the same, technocratic scumbag as YouTube and Amazon and Facebook and all of those above.
But you can easily find the errors, right? You can just follow the links, or follow the train of thought, or follow the rabbit hole, and you can find it. It's not hidden. You know, you just have to use a different way of thinking about it to find all little breadcrumbs.
Dig a little and don't just take declarative statements as facts.
Because that guy was certainly not the first guy with a shield, with a coat of arms.
I've heard Richard say this before, and other researchers, is that they're not really using Wikipedia to represent the information necessarily. It's more or less because that's a permanent link. It's well known. It's recognized. But yeah, I mean, everybody, I think, like what Chris said, understands that you shouldn't really trust exactly what's in a Wikipedia article. And your research shouldn't come from a YouTube video or a Wikipedia article either. We should all go for like source references or a lot deeper than that, right? Or a multifaceted approach with different websites confirming or not confirming what Wikipedia is saying. That's a great example of what you did, Agnieszka. But the other thing I just really quickly wanted to say, just going back to Epstein, is that these bastards need to be, brain indexed and categorized. Like if you understand what we're up against here, you look into like Derek Burroughs' work and what he's done with the finders. And recently all the stuff that's coming down on the finders, and that, there's a lot more coming out on them now on the mainstream stage. And I have to say that I don't doubt that Derek Burroughs' work and all the stuff that he put out on the finders in the past years had something to do with that. And so that just shows, or for me, it confirms how important it is to expose this stuff, because, with this particular topic, we're not just covering, some stuff that doesn't really matter. I mean, we need to highlight this stuff and put a light on it and get the rats out of the area, right? And these people are evil, right?
Definitely.
Epstein didn't kill himself, in case anyone missed that earlier.
Thanks, Chris. Well, last night we had a bombshell lecture. I'm going to go ahead and move into some of the slides that were shared, highlighting that, because it was really valuable information. And let's just jump into the first one. So Tyler, you highlighted this slide. What about this really jumped out at you?
Oh, you want me to take another 10 minutes on the microphone here?
Go for it.
I like it. I liked the slide itself, just the aesthetic of it, and the message with the picture gives a nice, quick and simple thing to understand. So I don't know how much I need to go into explaining it, but for me, it rings true personally that, a lot of the time, I think when people come across like the information we were discussing, it can be quite frightening, and even when you understand sort of the condition of the average human being, or of yourself even, and the conditioning that's gone on in your life up to the point when you try to do some of the shadow work and healing, like you come up against a lot to deal with, and a lot of people's reaction is to immediately want to try to kind of escape all of that sludge, I guess, or what we're weighed down in kind of over time as we go on. So without getting too abstract, I think, after a certain amount of time, you do realize that it's a longer race, that it needs to be dedication, lifetime commitment, that freedom is not something that happens to you. It's something that you make happen in your life and in the lives of others around you, if possible. But first, it starts at home, and it's definitely something that you live. It's not something that, like I said, you just read about and then suddenly, now you're free, or, all these different things. It's a process that's ongoing, and to be in it for the long haul is a true commitment that I don't think most people are willing to commit to. And they may put on a lot of masks and personas and different labels and a lot of virtue signaling online and different things that they get behind to make it seem as though they are dedicated to it, but they go back to their regular lives and in their voluntary servitude in a situation of wanting to be away from freedom. And so for those of us on the path to actually not want, to be in stagnation and slavery, then we have to make it a pursuit of commitment.
Absolutely. Well said. And just to give a little backstory, this slide was improved upon by Autonomy student Tori, who's a graphic designer, and she has been improving the slides since the season 1 slides, and this is a perfect example of how just adding a little bit of imagery that matches well with the copy really makes the slide stand out and emphasizes the message that Richard is putting together. All right, slide number 2. So last night, Richard went through and gave a framework of what marketing is and the aspects that entail being able to get your message out in front of your audience. Anybody have anything to say about this side in particular?
This is perfect for my project because we're at the point of developing it. So having all of these lectures come up again as now we're developing our offer is really good, especially since it keeps the whole team on the same page and allows them to review what we need to do every week as the lectures come up. I think it's perfect for me, for my project.
Now, this speaks to kind of what I was talking about earlier. Essentially, this is a way that any one of our students can evaluate a website really easily, and just look through this particular slide here, and really come away with a much better situation in which maybe they see an opportunity for those of us that know how to do this to hook them up with the people that are not doing this. And like for example, the number 4, the thank you page, as being one of the most premium pages in the whole presentation, is something that I learned last night, and I had never heard that before, but I absolutely believe it 100%. I think that is the greatest opportunity, and so many people are squandering that. So many people that are probably pretty well versed in this stuff are squandering that. And here's just one more example of knowledge being applied.
Yep, I think that's what Rich was referencing as a tripwire, making that one-time offer once somebody shows interest and takes that first step towards purchasing, have that upsell ready to go for them to be able to continue getting the value that you've broken up into this. For myself, I started off my marketing career just helping small businesses with social media content. And I really had to learn year by year what the umbrella of marketing really was. And I started kind of with my boots on the ground, helping with content, going out to the audience, and then worked my way back through this. And it really took several years to understand the scope of what marketing was trying to accomplish and everything that it had, that it entails in order to do so. So to be able to come across this concept in its full form really gives your brain a framework to understand, and then to be able to identify all the components within that and what skills are needed for each step.
Yeah, this lecture was one of my favorites, just because this is kind of the information I've been personally waiting for, is like the nuts and bolts of this framework of what it might look like, and the funnel, and how Richard would then talk over how he's formatted it. And so I was really excited to go through all those different slides. I have a lot of different screenshots that I took, even though we can easily just download the slides once it's all posted. But I like to review it in the morning before do it live. And like I said, this with the landing pages and the marketing aspects and the funnel, and the even talking a little bit about email autoresponders and personalizing autoresponders, or categorizing people into the different gemstone categories. I thought that was a good idea. You could even take your target audience and use the 4 gemstone thing on them and put them in. Maybe this guy's an emeraldy guy and he wants this technical stuff on how this works, where this sapphire person over here just really actually needs to be presented with an invoice, because they're ready to go. And so, yeah, I like that, all the different tips that Richard presented last night. It was really valuable for me, and I think I'll be watching it again shortly, because I'm in the process of a lot of this stuff right now. So,
Yeah, funny autonomous story for you guys. When I first learned how to get into marketing, or when I first got into marketing, I was a writer, and that's about all I was. And I really wanted to take a course that was $4,000. And I didn't have the money. So I went to the lady and I said, hey, I have skills. You got course. Let's do this. And that's how my first foray into marketing was, working for her, paying her for the course with my skills. But I had to learn everything about marketing because that's what she needed. And that expanded to a whole bunch of people and 10 years worth of experience.
And that took courage and seizing opportunity. If you went through the traditional avenues, you didn't have the credibility on your resume in order to acquire that value. And so typically you wouldn't even have reached out or asked because of these kind of paywalls that are set up in society. But you saw an opportunity, you were able to negotiate a deal between you and the other person and be able to make it a win-win situation.
Yeah, and the tricky thing, I remember the morning that I asked her for. So the night before I went to the intro seminar, lecture, whatever, where she talked about the course. And I was like, oh, I really need this course. But I just paid all this money for life coaching education. It was thousands of dollars. And I just can't, I don't have another $4,000 to give this lady. And my thought was, but she said the price was only good last night. So it's the next morning. Maybe I shouldn't phone. The doubt was, maybe I shouldn't phone her because she told me the price was only good last night. And today the price is no longer good. But that was just indoctrination talking, because in reality, all she did is say those words. It didn't mean anything. She had a huge need for admin support. She had a huge need for marketing support. And within 2 years, I was on all of her like org chart on every single freaking item. Like, you know, I was doing videos and all this stuff. So yeah, don't second guess yourself just because somebody says, oh, it's only good for tonight. Tomorrow you can't do it. I did it tomorrow and I still work for her 10 years later.
Right. And this is so valuable for all of us to be able to see how this is attainable for anybody. You can get skills, become proficient, offer those skills, and have a new stream of revenue. And you really don't need anyone's permission for it other than being able to just provide value. And so what we're learning here is understanding that anything's attainable, that if you need something done, there's resources in the community to do it. You can bring in projects like Gabriel is with having a website that needs some help. He's interested in acquiring these skills, and so he can become an apprentice while working on that project. Meanwhile, he's able to hand that over to those that are proficient in those skills. He learns, the business benefits, and everybody gets to move forward with their goals. I got one more slide to share I thought was really impactful, because on that path of becoming autonomous and just gaining skills and being able to make offers, this I thought was a valuable treasure map for how to get money.
Show me the money.
Right, because just getting those skills and then becoming proficient at something is just the start at gaining a revenue stream. And this slide really breaks down in the larger context how to create something, share it with others, systematize it so that you have a structure to do so. I'm doing this right now with my marketing company, being able to delegate it to people that are proficient at it, so you're not doing the same task over and over. Learn to automate, add money to marketing so that you get more leads coming in, duplicate it and repeat, and you can create multiple businesses in order to be even more successful. It becomes a like I said, a treasure map on how to get money.
Did he flesh out each of those points in the lecture last night?
Not to the full extent, because we have ongoing lectures in the coming weeks where he'll dive in deeper on what these topics really are, because it's a word. There's just a word right there, but there's a whole lot that goes behind how to optimize or delegate or systematize your business. For example, right now I am systematizing marketing projects so that when a new project comes in, then I'm able to just click a project using a software called Teamwork. I click a new project and I have a list of tasks from previous projects that get turned on, and those tasks are automatically sent out to those team members that work on those tasks. So it becomes this automated, systematized process where with just one click, once we start the job, everybody gets their assigned tasks and then they can check them off. And as the manager or as the person that's orchestrating all of this, I can keep an eye on what stage the project is at, what needs to be done, and exactly who I need to talk to in order to take care of that.
I love Teamwork. It's one of my favorite tools ever.
It's pretty great. Well, we have a few minutes left, and I wanted to dedicate a little bit of time to this upcoming week. What are people excited about? What's on your schedule, and what are you looking forward to?
Tyler and I are going to go live on what's today? Saturday, Monday night. So that'll be fun. That's something to look forward to, and I'm hoping to continue just building skills, work on my website, and all of the above. Just GTD, man, getting things done. I'm almost at borderline overwhelmed here, but I've got a little cheat sheet on my wall behind me from a previous lecture of how to handle overwhelmed. So I think I'm ready. I guess I'm ready for the week, as ready as I can be. I do have a few technical questions later on for when we stop the podcast. I got quite a few technical questions. That's what in the web development channel of the Discord, I was throwing out a lot of questions last night. I'm not sure if anyone saw them. So what I'll do is I'll just tag some people and make sure any advice come in that way. It's great. You got a problem and you're stuck, go to Autonomy, or even if you don't have a problem, just want to get other perspective, other points of view, see what other people have to say. You may have missed something. Just jump on Discord. It's fantastic.
I want to make sure you don't forget the other two visitors we have on the Zoom call right now, Tyler and Ty. It's not that Tyler has like tripled their.
Yeah, I see Tyler's name three times here.
Oh, there's two Tylers going on?
There's two Tylers, and then there's the real Tyler.
Oh, well, Ty and Tyler, thanks for joining in live. Feel free to pop in and say hello at any time. Who else has some exciting things on their calendar this week?
Well, I'll just reiterate what Chris says. I think, for me, I mean, there's just so many things that this opens up for me in regard to business relationships and opportunities that I'm seeing that I've got to get myself onto. And, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. But one of the things I wanted to point out is kind of the process that this learning experience has really done for me, and maybe an opportunity to explain a little bit about Richard's method to what he's doing for us in regard to immersing us in this information and how he's going about really teaching this course in a way that is asking questions and getting us to think about these things, and then providing us with answers, and then repeating those answers, and then immersing us in them. And it's essentially what they call it, a meta thinking or kind of approach where instead of just, like the typical way that most people are familiar with learning, where they just kind of stick you out there in the batter's box, they let you swing at it once, and then they tell you you're a bad batter, get back in the thing, and maybe we'll let you take another shot at it. But, we're actually creating masters, people that are actually being given the opportunity to master this information and then apply it in their own particular area of expertise or uniqueness. And, I think to some people, I think it might be a little daunting to see, what Richard is asking of people. But honestly, it is, it is what is needed, because we need that level of immersion to get rid of this, 15,000 hours of self-defeating behavior that, that most people struggle with, for an entire lifetime. And it just doesn't have to be that way. People struggle with things for their entire life that it could be just as easy as flipping a switch, and doing it a different way. And that's really the opportunity that this has. And when that happens for a person, that's what makes this course so dang valuable. It's like, wow.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. This week I have a meeting with Hedda Marie. We're going to be going over how to make a course. I'm really excited to have this meeting because she's going to help me out with my project. In turn, she's going to record this process of helping me with my project and be able to offer that out to the community. And I really see some mini courses on the horizon for a lot of people, because a lot of us have great ideas, expertise in specialized areas, and being able to just organize that, break that into a little course, I think is going to really catch wildfire and be able to share with others the things that we've learned for ourselves. And also,
are you guys, Joshua, are you guys focusing on Teachable as your platform, or anything, whatever the person wants to use?
It'll be anything. Hedda Marie will be bringing like the framework, how to take organized information and break it out into individual lectures and in a format for people to be able to easily digest.
Cool.
Perfect timing for us. Even though I've done courses before, I would love any more information. Apparently, that's what differentiates somebody who is into mastery. They're always willing to find new information about the stuff that they may already know about, versus the student who's like, oh, I'm full, I'm done, I already know this, right? So that's a student type of attitude.
Yep, lifelong learner. Tyler, anyone else have anything they're excited for this week before we wrap up?
I'm excited for December, excited to approach the end of the year. And I'm personally going to be working on steps to launch a new business at the beginning of 2020. It's not my first rodeo at going down that route, so I kind of understand a lot of the stuff I need in place at this point. But same as what you guys were just saying, I should approach it as a student, as a much more creative than I've done in the past, probably with this particular endeavor. So I'm going to be probably reaching out to particular members of the community for assistance with this or that. But for the most part, before December 20th, when I'm going to take off to Mexico, I have to have a lot of that in place before the end of the year. So this week will be a big part of that.
That's exciting. And I'm starting off on a new business venture as well. So we'll fail fast and be able to grow a brand new revenue stream for both of us. Well, Ty, thanks for popping in. Keep your eyes on the road. Everybody, that's it for this week's episode of Do It Live podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Chris, Tyler, Michael, Ty, Agnieszka, and everybody else that's joined us here live this morning. Tune in again next week where we'll cover all the amazing things that are happening in the autonomy community, as well as some highlights of the week's lecture. But before you leave, make sure to never miss an episode by subscribing here on probably YouTube, where this is being seen. We hope to be on BitChute here quickly. And if you want to get autonomy for yourself, go to autonomy.info or click the link in the comments below and tell them one of us sent you. Thanks again for tuning in. See you guys next week.